Okay, I see it says on my screen, webinar is now streaming live on YouTube. Katie, can I confirm we are all set? All right, great. Okay. Good. So we are up and running. A reminder to anyone who is on YouTube, if you want to make a comment, you'll have to come over to the Zoom link in order to do that. Okay. So I am going to take the first just 5 minutes or less here to give a quick overview of our committee, our charge, and allowable use. Oh, nope, just looking at comments, we're good. And the allowable uses of the funds. And then we're going to open this up, and the remainder of the time will be used as an open public forum. So let me share my screen. Okay. Please let me know when you can see.
I can see.
Great, thank you.
Me too.
All right, so again, just very quickly going through our committee, right? So this is a 7-member committee. We have a number of folks from another number of other committees. We have someone from advisory, planning, 2 members from capital planning, EDC represented, and then 2 of us, myself included, as residents who aren't sitting on any other boards. We were all appointed by the select board and are here trying to represent the best interests of Southborough. So this is a 1-year board. However, we are in a pretty rapid timeline. We kicked off in January, and we owe our recommendations to the select board in May. So even though we are in a 1-year charge, overall, we're a pretty fast-moving committee here. I'm going to skip to the next slide. So in terms of what we are here to do, so the committee is providing recommendations for the usage of roughly $3 million in American Rescue Plan money that has been allocated to Southborough. We have been asked to solicit input from town departments, boards, committees, and commissions. At this point, I think we've done a pretty thorough job of that. We also have been tasked with soliciting input from the Southborough community. So we currently have a survey that is out. If you have not completed that, please go ahead and do so. It is sobo.com, is that right, Anne? Oh.
SBORO.org.
SBORO.org. We have this forum. We are always open to comments in our regular weekly meetings. I've had folks send me emails. So we're getting input from the public in a lot of different ways. We are working on coming up with our evaluation tool and how we will ultimately do our ranking here. And then again, we finalize with a report out to the select board, the final report of which is due on or before May 16th. You'll also see that March 1 date, which was for anything related to the annual town meeting warrants. We've had some discussion with the select board, and right now they're looking to use about $150,000 of this money to keep our tax rate below 5% this year. But other than that, there's no specific recommendation towards town meeting at this point coming from our committee. So it's really just the May 16th date that we're targeting. The ARPA funds can be used in a pretty broad way. So there's a couple specific buckets and then one really broad one that most of what we're looking at falls under. So the first is we can use the funds to respond to a public health emergency or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses and nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. We can use it to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers. You'll see that's one of the items on our survey. This next one is really the broadest bucket. So for the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year prior to the emergency. So this is really, lost income to the town by a reduction in their overall taxes. And so along with this, there's a $10 million safe harbor portion of the rule. And so basically, any town that has less than $10 million can, in ARPA funds, can claim that as lost income. So we're at $3 million. So really we can justify anything we want to do as lost town income. So anything that the town could be paying for from our taxes, we are able to use these funds for, with a few exceptions that we'll get to on the next slide. We can use it to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And then looking at the dates, the costs have to be incurred on or after March 3rd, 2021. All the funds need to be obligated by December 31st, 2024, which feels relatively far off. But if you think of sort of how quickly things move, it's actually not. We're looking at not quite 3 years here to have all the funds fully committed, and then fully spent by the end of 2026. And then I think since the use of the funds is so broad, it's almost more useful to think about what they can't be used for than what they can be used for. And so there's really only a couple buckets. So one is you can't offset a reduction in net tax revenue. You can't use it to deposit into pension funds. So if you have any open pensions that need to be funded, you can't sort of put money aside in there. You can't use it to service debts. You can't use it for settlements and judgments. That's the big stuff. So it's really, you can't sort of set this money aside in sort of to either use in the future or for any kind of like past incurred debts, things like that. But again, for really kind of like actionable projects and things like that, the money is very, very flexible. Okay. So that's all I wanted to go through in terms of the usage of the money. So now we'll move over to the public forum portion. So just to kind of frame what we want to do here, I am going to ask that folks keep their comments to a 2-minute timer, so we have enough time to get through everyone. If we get to the end of comments and there's no more hands and someone wants to speak again, I'm happy to accommodate that, but I'm asking for initial comments to be 2 minutes or less. I would also ask that if a point has been made by a previous attendee, that you can kind of hold your comment. If we're really looking for a wide berth of public feedback here, and we're using the survey to get more of a sense of kind of volume of support behind the different buckets. When you speak, please state your name and your address. Mimi is going to have to make sure she writes them down in the notes, so you can say them clearly and slowly. That will be really helpful. Also, just in terms of the purpose of this forum, the goal is not really for it to be a debate or for us to be, endlessly speaking. It's really to listen to the folks in the town and to get feedback. I'm not opposed to, if there's, quick and easy answers we can provide to any questions, that's fine. But in general, the goal is to listen, not to be getting into sort of long discussions about any specific topic. And then the last piece I wanted to remind folks about is the open meeting rules. For anybody who serves on another committee, this is a posted ARPA meeting. I don't believe any of the other committees posted, but I could be wrong about that. So just be aware, if you are on another committee and you find yourself in a situation where there is a quorum in the attendees, here, I'm going to just read the advice I got from the town council. So if there is a quorum of board members of a board attends another board's meeting and even one member speaks about a matter that is the subject of the attending board's ongoing jurisdiction, rather than just reporting on a past action or asking a question, then it could be an open meeting violation. So just bear in mind, if something is under your committee's jurisdiction and you have a quorum here, it's not something that we should be opening for discussion. If you have something that you want to bring up and you feel like you fall in that bucket, always feel free to just email me and I'll make sure it gets discussed in a future meeting. So that is my preamble. From here on out, I'm going to try to talk very little, and I'm going to turn it over to the folks in attendance. So what I will ask is that people can, at the bottom of their Zoom screen, there should be a little hand button that says raise hand. If you would like to speak, please just click on that button, and then I will promote you to be able to speak. I don't see any hands yet.
These minutes may be very easy.
I know, right?
Andrea gave preamble, end of minutes, which was a great job, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Andrea, did you see that there was a note that as of 7:38, we had 371 respondents on the survey?
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's so great. That's awesome. Awesome. All right, I see a hand. Kevin. So I'm going to allow you to talk. Kevin, you should be able to speak.
Hi, ARPA Committee. How are you tonight?
You are well.
I just want to thank you for the good work you're doing. And I didn't really want to speak first, but I thought I'd break the ice, especially since you raised the survey. I really appreciate that survey. I should say, by the way, that I'm the chair of Historical Commission now, and we've submitted a request, of course. So I just, for full disclosure, about, of course, the signage for the newly recognized National Historic District in downtown. Pursuant to the survey, which again I really appreciate, the one observation I'd make about it, and it's in no way a criticism, just an observation about the nature of surveys, of course, is that the results you get are often determined by the way the survey is written. And I appreciate this particular survey because it's quite simple and straightforward. The one potential drawback it has, of course, is that there are no monetary values attached to any of these requests. And I think that would be highly influential if people, if the general public really understood that, for instance, some of the requests, quite worthy ones, by the way, either have no figure attached that I could see so far, or have figures attached that run to several $100,000 to into seven figures. On the other hand, to make a modest pitch for the Historical Commission's request of $26,532, that actually comes to 0.87% of the total $3,051,241 that might be available. In other words, less than 1% of the total amount of money that we hope will be available is that request. And I have a hunch that if people filling out the survey realized that for less than 1%, we could get this very nice marking of the downtown, which would encourage visits to the downtown and hopefully help economic life down there, as well as bring attention to the historical assets that we have. People would be likely to move it up a few slots, even if it's not exactly their top priority. So I know that you'll, when you weigh all this information and make your determinations, you'll be thinking about those numbers, of course. But I just wanted to put it out there that I think for survey purposes, this might be something that skews it a little bit. And again, I think if monetary values were attached to the 17 items, some might slide up and some might slide down, and people might say, well, why isn't there a hard number attached to this request? And it might, again, influence their decision-making. But in any case, that's all I had. And I really appreciate it. And thank you very much for all your hard work. I know it's taken a lot of your time.
What's your address, Kevin?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's 18 Ladisquama.
Thank you.
I like the mock-ups you made, though, Kevin. Those came out really nice.
I'm sorry? Oh, the mock-ups. Yeah.
The mock-ups look really well.
We have, it's, they really look actually quite nice. And of course, bronze does last for 500 years. So That's what we're told, and it's a local vendor in Marlborough that we would like to use if we are granted the money. So, yeah, I think it's a small, it's a fairly small request. I said in our own meeting the other night, I never think of spending the town's money lightly, but this is one that I think is a big bang for the buck, and people would immediately see results because we are, as they say, shovel ready. Anyway, thanks, John, and have a great night, everyone.
You too, Kevin. Take care.
Thank you, Kevin. Oh, Joe, did you put a hand up?
No, I was waving goodbye. He said,
Oh, okay. Fair enough. And I will just say, Kevin, in kind of very quick response, I'm gonna move you back to attendees. So we did discuss a bit about whether or not to include the monetary numbers, and in the end we decided that we didn't want to put them in the survey, but that it would be part of sort of our consideration as we go through. So I think we have a sense that it will potentially impact how things move up and down, and that's something that as we're evaluating we can correct for as we think about how to allocate the money. Okay. Do we have any other hands?
I was really hoping we'd have more attendees tonight. Oh, you got one up?
Yeah. I see the town of Southborough, room 3. Can I allow the room to talk? I'm gonna say allow to talk.
Good evening.
Oh, hello.
Hi, this is Catherine McKee. I apologize. I am not room 3. I just had a meeting earlier tonight, and somehow Zoom is logging me in and keeping me logged in. As I did this with advisory, so they thought room 3 was stalking them all night. So apologies. I just wanted, so I'm Trails Committee Chair and wanted to understand, and I missed the introduction even though I was sitting here. I wanted to understand so I've watched a few meetings and stuff. And I understand, like watching the select board, the objective I've heard some proposals to fund only large projects or to fund, maybe a couple of capital projects and then a lot of little projects. But it seems like there's an opportunity here to do a little bit of both. So you fund a big project, but you could fund a ton of little ones that would really benefit the town overall. So forgive me if this is repetitive, but can you help me understand, is there a direction that you're leaning on proposing that to the select board, or are you hearing that the select board would prefer an approach? And is that a clear enough question to get you started on answering?
Yeah. So very early on in this process, one thing we were told to sort of keep under advisement is that, the more small things we take, there is some administrative overhead that will come with that. But overall, we as a committee haven't committed one way or another at this point. And I don't think we've had pressure to commit to take one tact or another at this point. I think there is some general sense that it makes sense to probably pick up some larger capital items, but that that doesn't in any way prevent us from doing several of the smaller. I mean, I think as Kevin mentioned before, right, we have a really wide range of things. Some projects that are in the $500,000 range, and some that are in low tens of thousands, right? So there's a lot of mixing and matching that we can do, and as a committee, we haven't made a commitment to how best to do that at this point. We're really considering everything at face value at this point.
Great. And then administrative overhead, is that just as I understand it, like submitting receipts and managing a project, or what exactly do you mean by administrative overhead?
Yeah, I think it's this came from the consultant when we first spoke, and I think it's really just keeping the state aware of what we are doing. I don't know the details of how much needs to get submitted. I just know that was a comment that was made very early on, was that, just something to be cognizant of if we're looking to do multiple smaller projects.
So there must be some reporting requirements the state would have for each, how you spend each dollar, and you'd have to report that. So that would be kind of included in the administrative overhead as well.
Yeah, that's that, and that's I believe that's really it. I don't think there's anything more extensive than that we're talking about.
Great. And then remind me again the timeline. How does this work out? I know the money has to be spent in a certain time frame, but what's the timeline for decisions, like proposal to the select board and then decisions and that timeline?
So we owe our final report out by May 16th to the select board. So in less than 2 months at this point. Any money must be committed by the end of 2024, and all money must be spent by the end of 2026.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, of course.
What's your address, Kat?
18 Walnut Drive, Southborough.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's probably it. I guess one other question is, if there were part of your process, have you just like do you need more information on certain projects, or do you have to, like, if you're not getting enough information from projects and you're curious about how things would work, are you asking groups to provide more information, or do you feel like you're going to get with your application enough information to make the decision?
Yep. So that's actually our next meeting, is to come with all of the questions we have outstanding so that we can start to do our follow-up over the next 2 weeks. So that kicks off next week. So if you haven't heard yet, it doesn't mean that you're not going to hear. It's that piece starts next week.
Yeah, no, I was just more curious about your vetting process and how
Yep.
that works for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for all of the work that you guys are doing. I know you have a compressed timeline and you're really rocking it out. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, Kat.
So I'm going to back into the audience. Okay. Good.
It might be worth saying again, if you're on YouTube, that you want to change over to Zoom if you want to speak.
Mm-hmm. I have 5 attendees in the audience. If anyone else has comment, I'll give it a minute to see if anyone wants to also come over from YouTube. Otherwise, this could be our shortest meeting yet.
Can you see how many attendees are watching on YouTube, or is that too hard to switch over?
I don't.
There was
I
one.
tried opening it before, and it didn't actually tell me. I'll do it again. Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I
no,
did
no,
the same
there
thing,
was-
and I
there
just
was
figured
one.
I was doing it wrong.
I have one person watching on YouTube. So Matt. Oh, it's Matt watching on YouTube. Any more comment? If not, then I don't know if we should hang out for a few minutes in case any other folks join later, or one person watching on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's
one.
Matt.
And that's Matt.
It's Matt. Yeah. I think we should probably, why don't we give it till like 8? And if we don't have any additional comment, then we can close it. Does that sound good?
Sounds smart.
All right. So everyone's reading through proposals. I have to go back in and see if we've got the Dropbox back up, because I know it's a huge pain to try to like dig through them in email. Maybe I'll check to see if I was still struggling with getting back into Access, but I know you said you had it, so I'll take a look.
Yeah, I couldn't, so I had saved the link. I couldn't get in it from there. It said that the file doesn't exist, but then I went back to Colleen's original invitation and was able to get in through there.
So maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll go back and dig out the original invitation and see if it takes me there. Hopefully I don't have to redo the folders.
It looked like everything was there and everything.
Okay. All right. 'Cause I
Things
still
were all
I have the
posted and
last.
everything.
Okay. Because I still have that last handful that need to get added. So I want to make sure those go over. All right. All right. 7:38. Give it 2 more minutes. We're all going to have a nice long Thursday evening tonight, I guess.
Actually,
And
kind of a letdown.
I know I was hoping for more people, but that's okay. But 371 responses on the survey so far, and the mailer just came out today. So that's pretty good.
Hey, Andrea, advisory's meeting with the select board right now. Would you mind if I dropped and joined that board?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
All right,
Take
bye,
care,
Tim.
Tim.
Do we know when that meeting ends? Is that a meeting we should be waiting to exit?
Oh, that's going to go on and on.
Go on. Okay.
Yeah.
All
I bet it's gonna be riveting.
right. All right. Well, it must mean that we're not making people too angry with what we're doing. If
That's what that means.
I mean,
So far, anyway.
it's so far, right. There's always the future. I will take that.
Can I ask, have you received many emails from citizens or residents rather than official committees? Just
No.
the ones more about beautification.
No, I think just those ones I've shared so far. There's two. There was the one about the dog park and the trash cans, and then the one about relief for folks who don't own property in town. Oh yeah, I don't think I've had anything else. So again, everyone must think we're doing a great job here.
You
Find
think
out
$3 million?
tomorrow.
What? Sorry, John.
I said, we'll find out tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
We'll find out if we're doing a good job.
Wait, what happens tomorrow?
Blog. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
Being a wise guy.
Other people. So far, it hasn't been too
been good.
contentious. I think it's been, yeah.
I would have thought $3 million would bring out more people, but 3 million isn't what it used to be, I guess.
Yeah, no, they just trust us. Oh,
I feel like you're on Austin Powers. $1 million.
All right. Well, we are at 8:01. I'm just trying to think, is there anything, because in theory we have another hour and a half. Someone could come in late. But I don't think it's worth, I don't think we hang on for an hour and a half for that. I mean, someone can always email me if they have a comment they want to make. Okay. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn then?
So move.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Palmer,
Aye.
Ms. Luttrell,
Aye.
Ms. Rubenstein,
Aye.
Mr. Wood,
Aye.
Mr. Schoner,
Aye.
and I vote aye. It is 8:01 and this meeting is adjourned. Thanks everyone. We'll talk next week.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
bye.
you.